We all know Jack, the Beanstalk boy, the lad who stole the goose. But in that tale, the other folks have threads still hanging loose. Like what about the poor old man who traded for the cow? Well, I've researched him, I've dug around, and let me tell you now. His name was Wilbur, Will for short, a rough and ready chap, the sort of man to chew a straw and wear a farmer's cap. But Wilbur was no farmer, no, his life was far more seedy. Well, beanie, I suppose you'd say. Regardless, he was greedy. He toyed around with GMOs, manipulating genes, creating mutant plants which then he'd sell as magic beans. And most of the time they didn't work, they wouldn't even grow. He ran a scam and sold them on to folks who wouldn't know. The trade with Jack, old Wilbur thought, was just that same old ruse. The first he'd heard about the stalk was on the evening news. "Well, look at that! They work!" he cried, and Wilbur hatched a plan. "That golden goose would make me an absurdly wealthy man." So Wilbur called his lawyer and took poor Jack to court. Of course the boy could never prove those magic beans were bought, and Wilbur owned the copyright. Those beans were fairly his. In court all he would have to do is show the jury this. But when the trial arrived in court, as Wilbur soon found out, the golden eggs afforded Jack a lot of legal clout. He'd hired a horde of lawyers, grey of suit, of hair, of heart, that ripped to shreds old Wilbur and tore his claims apart. And while the judge agreed with him, those were in fact his beans, the spoils that Jack had rightly earned weren't Will's by any means. In fact, he owed Jack money for legal fees and such, so Wilbur left the courtroom like he'd come, with nothing much. And as he walked home quietly, consumed by lonely thought, he realised he still had that cow, the one that he had bought. "She's far too old. She's got no milk. Her meat would be like wood." But then he thought about the beans. "Oh, wait, I think I could..." He rushed to climb the monster stalk and harvested its beans. The judge had said that they were his. They had those magic genes. He used the cow to bring them home, where sure enough they grew, stretching far above his house and out into the blue. Then Will began developing a range that he could sell. A type of milk that came from beans, a type of meat as well. His products took the world by storm. Not only were they healthy, they helped with global warming. And they made him very wealthy. So that's what came of Wilbur. And it only goes to show that these fairy tales run deeper than we'll ever really know.